We'll spread across the land. Chad here coming at you with another video. A little follow-up of some basic stretches that you can do to follow up that low back and hip mobilization that we were talking about in previous videos. So these are going to be some passive stretches. Option to make them a little bit more active, and we're going to use our yoga strap to do this. Now if you don't have a yoga strap, you can easily use a belt, an old belt if you have one, or even just a length of rope. That will work fine too. Or like a resistance band if you have one of those. So you're going to come onto your back and taking your strap around the sole of the foot. As you come onto your back, you're going to create some hip flexion. So just drawing your foot towards the ceiling or towards the sky. And you want to position your strap just so it's just below the toe mount. And this will help to create a little bit more dorsiflexion in the ankle. So when you gently pull down on the strap, you're going to create more flexion in the ankle. That's going to create greater length through the back of the leg, and it's going to intensify the stretch. So be mindful when you're playing with that. Now as you bring your foot towards your face, watch for the tendency for the low back to press down flat. Don't allow your body to compensate in this way. You want to press down towards the sacrum. So this might take away a little bit of range of motion, but the range of motion that you are getting out of the hip is going to be a lot more honest, and that's also going to change the sensation of the stretch. It's probably going to increase the pull of your stretch. Also use your strap to guide your leg into some end range rotations, as we call them. So basically, end range rotations means you're starting to create a little bit of a rotation within the hip, within the end range of motion, at least in this instance pertaining to your hip flexion. Now as you trace your circle, you want to stay within the range of your stretch. So with every revolution that I'm creating, it's like I'm trying to bring my foot a little bit closer to my face, a little bit closer, keeping the circles very small, very concentric circles. You want to make them nice and smooth, and then you also want to take them in both directions. If you wanted to try and coax a little bit more range of motion out of the body, this is how you can activate the stretch. So you're going to take a bend into your knee, and you're going to start to pull on your strap to hug the knee and thigh in towards the chest. So if you notice here, I'm closing the space between my ribs and my thigh. As I do this, I want to hold my thigh where it is, letting your strap slide freely through your hands with your inhale. You want to kick straight up through the heel of the foot. That's going to really ramp up the stretch. So be mindful, once you get into that new position, you want to breathe calmly and allow your nervous system and allow your body to sort of become better acquainted with that new range of motion. So you're kind of letting your body have a little handshake with that new position. Now if you wanted to bring the stretch through the outside of the left thigh, so we're talking maybe IT band, you might feel it pull behind the knee in a different way. So because we're all built differently, we all feel our stretches differently, so you really need to do that internal work to find your line of tension. So I'm going to create a little bit of internal rotation into the hip. So watching my foot, my toes, and my knee, I want to bring a little quarter turn to the toes, pointing them towards the opposite shoulder. So I'm actually creating internal rotation of the hip here. I'm going to take both sides of my strap into the opposite hand. And with that free hand, I want to make sure, at least to start, that my hip stays glued to the floor. So as I start to bring that leg across the body, I'm just going to start to change the stretch. We're going to be targeting different tissues, different lines of tissue here. And you shouldn't need to bring the leg, you might not have to bring the leg across the body very far to get a really deep stretch. You could follow that up with a single leg twist. For your twist, you're going to allow the hip to lift, and you're going to track the leg all the way across the body down towards the floor. Now as you do, depth of twist is going to be determined by what the shoulders are doing. So as you find your twist, you don't want to let that opposite shoulder hike up off the floor. If it is, that's your body letting you know that you've got a little bit too far with the twist. You need to regress it a little bit. You want to make sure that both shoulders can stay nice and flat to the floor and support it. So we're actually creating dissociation between the hips and the shoulders. Now from here, if you wanted to deepen the stretch, you're going to use your strap to gently guide the toes upwards towards the shoulder. You can follow this up with a real deep stretch for the external hip rotators. It's almost like a reclined pigeon stretch. So you're going to bring that leg back to center, taking a bend into the opposite knee. The foot is going to be flat, so this is going to become the supporting leg, and you're going to bring that ankle across the thigh to create a figure 4 shape with the legs. Now you want your ankle to come past your thigh a little bit. If you're using your strap, you can wrap it around the front of the knee, or you can simply just take your palm to the inside of the knee, and you just want to give the knee a little bit of a push. So you're pushing the knee away from the body. In doing so, you're creating more external rotation in the hip. You can hold here if that stretch is deep enough for you, or to go deeper into the stretch, you want to maintain the opening in the hip as you bring that right knee towards the chest. So as you draw the knee towards the chest, again, you want to continue to press that knee away from the body. Opposite hand, if it's accessible, can support the back of the thigh, or you can cup over the shin, or you can simply support the ankle. Your choice, whatever allows you the most control over your stretch. From here, if you can get the legs close enough to the chest, you also have the option to interlock the fingers behind the thigh or over the shin, and then you can use the elbow and the forearm to facilitate the external rotation or the opening within the hip. If you can't quite reach, then you can also repurpose your strap, where you can take your strap behind the thigh and you can hang on to the strap. So this allows us to, again, create a deeper stretch, but without carrying any unnecessary tension within the shoulders or within the neck. Least amount of muscle engagement possible through the upper body. And you can follow that up with some hip cars if you choose. So just like we did in the other video, now in the other video we are in our tabletop. Here I'm doing them from a side laying position. I'm just following my stretch up with a little bit of movement